11:07. Those white numbers are burned into the backs of your eyelids as you blink, and after that second of absolute blackness, you return to see the screen has gone dark. You sigh and shove the phone into your coat pocket, the wet fabric cold against your already moist hands. Bending over slowly, you grip the handle of your grocery bag and lift it off the ground, the bottom now soaked through. A slight wave of concern runs through your body. You still have a 10-minute walk back to your dorm, and if that bag breaks, well... You curse yourself for not having gone out earlier, but then again you'd only realize that you were pretty well out of food when you had reached into the closet for a snack and found only a jar of peanut butter and some dirty dishes. You'd been putting it off all week, either too busy with classes, cramming for the upcoming midterms, or had just said, "I'll do it later." You realized that you'd need food to function, due to not having purchased a meal plan this year. Though to be fair, last year's dining hall options were comparable to prison slop. Wondering if there were even any places open at this hour, you turned to your clock and saw that it had been 10:27. If you hurried, you could make it to the grocery store before they closed at 11. Looking out the window with a groan, seeing those snakeling lines of water, you quickly readied yourself, then dashed out of your room and onto the street. It had been pouring all afternoon, and now into the eerie night a light drizzle continued on. Oh, how you ran, working your smooth legs until they burned, your lungs pumping oxygen until they felt ready to explode, your throat growing tight and constricted. It hurt to suck air through your nose, and then you ran some more. The falling water prickled your cheeks, like icicles falling from a starless sky. Your thin spring jacket didn't do much in the realm of keeping you dry. The liquid just soaked right through, now clinging to your arms. But you kept on running. The grocery was still within a walking distance, but not close either, and there was the time limit on top of that. The rubber squeaking of your sneakers echoed throughout the concrete and metal walls as you rushed around, while a zombie night shifter announced the store's closure in 10 minutes. You tried to recall what you came here for, but the panic began to build and overwhelmed your mind. To and fro, spinning on your heels, rushing and shoving items into your cart, you hurried to the cash and made your purchases. You doubted that you had everything you were looking for, but at this point you're too exhausted to care. But now, as you begin to re-enter the suburbs, the weight of the bags was beginning to take their toll. After just having done your intensive exercise for the week, it hurt to breathe, and your mouth was a desert that had forgotten the slick feel of saliva, now dry and harsh. Your tired eyelids began to betray you too, and your head swirls like greasy dishwasher down a kitchen sink. Just before you feel as though you're going to take a nap on the damp sidewalk, you feel it. Those goosebumps, roaring their way up your back and around the back of your neck. You're being watched. You don't have any proof, and it's probably just your paranoia acting up, but you can't help it. There's a snapping of wood. Your head whips around to find nothing. Nothing but a stray cat running out of a bush and disappearing into the darkness of an unlit side street. You breathe a sigh of relief, then continue on, shaking your head as little droplets dance in your hair. Though it was only March, the street back to your dorm reminds you of Halloween. The only color to be seen is orange, painting the houses in its daunting shade, and anywhere the lamppost couldn't touch, the darkness painted it black. It didn't help that the houses were not in the best of shape. Your university was the only thing dragging money and new people into this town, but as for its non-student residents, they were left to live in decrepit paint-peeling houses. The only comfort you can take is the light of the street lamps, giving you temporary sanctuaries from the eerie and unknown risks of the street. Maxwell University and the town of Maxwell were two different beasts. It hadn't been your first choice for secondary education, but it certainly wasn't your last. Plus, over the lower cost and bigger scholarships you had been offered, there was no way to refuse. So you said goodbye to Mom and Dad, and you flew out here to pursue a career of computer science at one of the top places in the country to do so. What wasn't known before arriving was the state of the town the university resided in. You hadn't been to many rural towns, having spent your life in the city, but you hoped Maxwell was not representative of the whole. Maxwell was not an abandoned, crippled town with more empty stores than ones bustling with people. But there was little bustling either. An afternoon walk downtown showed that much. It was a zombie town, filled with zombie workers, and shops with no heart to them. Barely any form of pride about the university that was kept on campus in a much more potent, concentrated form. The screaming and daytime drinking had chased you away to go explore. even though the sun was not too kind to your fair yet pale indoorsy skin and poorly adjusted eyes. Eventually you'd make friends of similar minds in your classes to laugh and bitch about this over, but for now you were quintessentially alone. The odd looks from the elderly troubled you. They were the only ones around, it seemed, and all of their stares had the same tone: judgment. They probably imagined you were down here to cause trouble, likely based on past generations of students, but you stayed silent and wandered on. You noticed a tall sign for a coffee place and decided to get a drink when a strange sensation rattled down your spine. Your shoulder blades press together uncomfortably, and you feel air against the back of your neck. Turning around, you're met with the face of another older fellow, with an unkempt beard and dirty jacket, standing almost on top of your own shoes. You stumble back and turn away again, trying to get the image of his silent moving mouth and missing teeth out of your head as you pick up the pace. You don't want to be involved with this strange man, even if he needed something, and you decide not to return downtown for a while. The last thing you want is to become a regular face to him. That's why your heart begins to race as you see a figure standing solemnly underneath the streetlight on the other side of the road. You couldn't be sure if it was him, but the puffy jacket and toque matched. You didn't think much of it until a certain question comes to mind. Where did he come from? He wasn't there a minute ago. Did he just leave his house or apartment, if he actually had one? No, he couldn't have. You would have heard the doors or the sounds from inside. Did you just not notice him? Perhaps. It's hard to see when everything is in orange and shadows, with a light rain reducing your visibility even further. Was he waiting for you? Now your throat closes once again, and dread begins to climb onto your back, weighing down your mind. Had he been lurking behind some tree, a hedge, a house, waiting until you returned? Perhaps he saw you running to the store, and knew that he'd have a good chance at you on your way back. Don't be ridiculous, you think to yourself. He's just going out, like you, to a destination of his own choosing. You almost laugh at how jittery you are. So strange that despite being surrounded by houses of other people, you're anxious over one guy walking on the opposite side of the street. One guy that probably has no quarrel with you, but his sudden appearance still toys with you. You enter a dark section of the street, the spot between two street lights. Your eyes slowly try to adjust to the dark after waiting under that last light for so long. But even then it's hard to make out his figure in the dark. For a second, he seems to disappear completely, and you squint your eyes, wondering where he is. Entering under another light, you can get a better look at him, and now he acknowledges you. You can make out a beard, and you watch as some glinting object is quickly concealed in his pocket. You swallow nervously, then turn away and try to pick up the stride some more, leaving him gawking under that orange glow. That's all you need to know. It's time to get home. Your heart continues to do the Indy 500, accelerating harder than any of its winners. You want to look again, to check and see if he's still there, still watching you. But you're scared of what he might do should you do so. The rain begins to fall harder, and you can no longer make out the sounds of his footsteps against the pavement. The pace of your breathing quickens. The air feels sharp, cutting the inside of your nostrils with every intake. You can't take it anymore. He could be right on top of you, and you'll be dead if you don't know when to run. Your head whips around to see him there, under a different streetlight, trying to catch up to your pace. Panic takes your mind while dread continues to cling on. You walk faster still, trying not to cry out. Don't look again. Don't look again, you tell yourself. Just keep going. Just then, in the distance, but approaching, a low, hefty grumble. A car. Someone is passing by soon. That'll keep him away from you. He can't do anything if there are other people near. And plus, you're almost back on campus. Surely you can find a security patrol and ask them to escort you back to your dorm. The two white beams cut their way through the rain and orange glow of the lamps, growing larger and brighter as the car comes closer. You look back quickly once more, just to see his reaction. The man is looking back at you, his pace slowed. You feel your heart lift as the car passes, realizing you're about to escape. Water sprays from the wheels and nearly touches you, and you hear the sound of rubber rolling away quickly on wet asphalt. Relief slowly returning to your body, you turn to check on the man, and find he isn't there. The clapping of shoes rushes up to meet you from behind, and you turn around completely to find him striding behind you. The noise of the car had blocked out his feet, and now he had closed the gap. Trepidation overwhelms your senses. You turn back around and walk faster, holding back fearful tears. The rain wetting your face takes their place. You swallow your heart over and over again, trying to get out of there, and that's when you hear it, the running. His footsteps speeding up behind you, to get you. You lift your feet and start to sprint as the parka man runs past you up the wet, greasy hill of your campus. You watch in shock as he slips, shouts obscenities at the mud, and then gets up and hurries into a nearby building after exposing his university key to the scanner. For a moment you catch his face, far younger than the man from downtown. You stand there in the rain, dumbstruck, yet annoyed about the situation. You drop your bag to the ground and laugh hysterically about getting so paranoid. He was just rushing to get out of the rain. Too bad you never noticed me. Then again, you never did. Not any other time. Taking that break to laugh gave me a chance to move in, unable to hear me approach over your own idiocy, to knock you out and drag your rain-covered body to my car. I was already quite anxious. That cat had nearly given away my position in that bush, but I was successful and managed to bring you here. What was that? Why? I thought I said you never paid me any mind. I tried everything I could to make you care, and you just used me. Used me to get all your little papers done and ace the class, while I, the local boy who worked his ass off to escape a life of shoveling pig shit and grass, got to fail. All for you. And you never even thanked me for it. One night. One night was all I asked. Couldn't you have just given me that chance? Was it so difficult for you just to give me a shot? Maybe so. Maybe I should have known from how you treated me. Maybe I should have just respected my precious angel's request and left you alone. Maybe I should have let you go. Maybe I still should. No. What are you thinking, Hamish? Going through all this only to let your darling go? No, never mind that. It's so weird, you know, to love someone so much and yet to completely despise their existence at the same time. So this is going to be my last gift to you. A lesson. Just a small one, but an easy one. I'm sure you won't need any tutoring or cheating to understand. It's a lesson on why you should watch your back at night. Now let us begin. As I sat in my room, typing on my computer, my tired eyes were glued to the screen. This damnable writer's block clouding my mind. Rain clattering against my window and rolls of thunder outside in the darkness of night. Questions without answers. Things seen that must be documented. Unknowable, unnameable things. My time in this world of the occult may very well have led to my demise as the whispers from beyond the void tore at my mind. Books of study lay strewn about my dark room, lit only by the screen of my computer. I find myself stuck on the phrase, what have I done to myself? As that infernal blinking line taunts me, as if to say, and what next? What have you done? What indeed? When I heard a faint scratching at my door, a small tapping, I could smell the sea? Not the pleasant winds, no, but a briny, hatefully salty smell, dank and musty. I turned my eyes back to my screen. Has it finally caught up with me? My years studying that which should never be learned? My years of lonely research? I took a breath, looking to the revolver on my desk. The whispers growing louder, telling me things unimaginable, unfathomable, and not meant for mortal minds. I swallowed hard and looked to my door. I saw water, sickly looking, seeping from under it. I had faintly noticed the sweat upon my brow. I looked too hard. I sought too much. My left hand fell to my revolver, and I closed my eyes as the door crept slowly open, the whispers growing louder. I looked into that void, and the void looked back. Welcome to Ridgeland Mall, yelped an obnoxious teenager stationed at the entrance of Jacob's hometown mall. Sure, Jacob muttered as he shuffled by the greeter, his head lowered as if to hide his face from everyone. Jacob was at the mall to get some things for his wife, Rachel. He loathed her. and she loathed him. After 10 years of steady decay, their marriage was on the brink of collapse. Jacob endured this excursion to pick up his wife's medication from Andre's apothecary, only so that he might see the cute cashier, even if she was years younger than himself. "Morning, Mr. Woodall," said Mary, the object of Jacob's affection. "Is it time for a refill?" "Yes," he grumbled. Though it sounded like anger, his voice was truly gruff, out of shyness. "Very well. It'll be ready in a few moments," she said as she disappeared into the back room. Jacob sighed and cast his gaze outward toward the other shops in the mall and various vendor carts that dotted the path to credit card debt. He caught sight of something odd outside the pharmacy. On a cart was the word "Wishes" in big, bright, bold letter. "Got it," said Mary as she came from the back and rang Jacob up, cutting off his concentration momentarily. Thank you," Jacob said as he hastily paid her and left, opting to rush to the Wishes cart. "Good morning, sir," said an oddly garbed man who stood behind the counter. "Here at Wishes, we have the wishes to change the world for the b—" "That's very well and good," said Jacob, almost angrily at the man's assumption that he cared for what his sales pitch was. "Do they work?" he asked, incredulously. "Of course, my good man. I have here the finest wishing apparatus for sale. This ring," he said, pulling a ring from a wooden box. The ring was a simple gold band with 3 like-sized diamonds set in a row. "This ring here will grant you 3 wishes. After each wish, one of the diamonds will turn to coal. When all 3 are gone, the ring itself will become coal." "Right, whatever. How much does this hoodoo cost me?" asked Jacob. So miserable he was considering buying into whatever this strange man was trying to sell him. The man adjusted his top hat and rolled up the sleeves on his pinstripe suit. "This isn't anything that anyone can just have. The responsibility price, man. I need to change the world," Jacob said so loud that people turned to stare. "For you, $100. Only because I see that you wish to change the world. But I must, thanks," said Jacob, cutting off the man, slapping 520s on the counter of the stand and snatching the ring. The strange man shook his head as Jacob hurried away. "Thank you," said the door greeter as Jacob exited the mall, then transfixed on his new treasure. "I wonder how it works," Jacob asked out loud. "Wonder if I just put it on," he said, slipping the conveniently sized ring onto his finger. "Man, I wish my wife was hot," he said. With a slight crackling sound, one of the diamonds on the ring turned to coal, just as the man had said. Jacob could hardly believe himself. He was so happy. He had to avoid speeding home to see his new wife. His new hot wife. However, when he got home, he was instead met with fire trucks around his house, blasting the remains of his home with water. "What's going on here?" he shouted as he ran up to a person wheeling a body bag on a stretcher away. "What happened to my house?" "We responded to a fire alarm. When we got here, there was a woman dead and on fire. We barely made it out when the flames touched a pool of liquid and sent the house up in flames," said a firefighter nearby. "Where were you?" he asked. "I was at the mall grabbing my wife some pills," he said, showing the receipt to the man. "Well, then you couldn't have done this. The alarm was set off before you could have made it back here." Jacob couldn't believe what he was hearing. His wife was dead. He was sad. But then his sorrow turned to joy, and then joy to scheming. He excused himself to his car and whispered to the ring, "I wish that Mary was madly in love with me." Again, one of the diamonds set in the ring crackled and turned into coal. Deciding he had to go get Mary, he hurried back to the mall. However, when he got there, the mall was surrounded by the police. There, he saw Mary being escorted out of the mall in handcuffs. "Mary!" he shouted. "Jacob!" she yelled back when she saw him. "Jacob, my love, I did this all for you," she shouted as she told him how she had killed his wife. Jacob waited until the police had left to go into the mall and to the Wishes stand. "You!" yelled Jacob as he pulled the ring from his finger and slammed it onto the counter. "This doesn't make my wishes come true. It's horrible. I want my money back." The man then shook his head. "Okay, I see how it's going to be. This is used. How about this?" Jacob said angrily as he shoved the ring back onto his finger. "I wish for my money back." Nothing happened. The man behind the counter chuckled as Jacob twisted his face in confusion. "Didn't you read the sign?" the man asked as he pointed below the Wishes sign. There, under the bright, bold letters, was another piece of paper with bold black letters. No refunds. Shallow men believe in luck. Strong men believe in cause and effect. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Please don't jump. Go back inside, Harold, I command, my voice stern and dry. Look, I don't know what you're going through, Harold says, ignoring my order, but this is never a solution. Go back inside. It's not safe out here. I just want to talk, he replies, climbing cautiously out the window. If you come closer, I'll jump right now. Okay, he says quickly, holding up his palms innocently. His elderly form sits halfway outside the window, about 2 arms' lengths from where I perch outside the 11th floor. Look, Harold says, trying hard to keep his tone leveled. You're a good kid, Jimmy, and I care a lot about you. Just tell me how you feel. Just take a moment to speak with me. I say nothing, feeling sweat run down my forehead. Let's just think things through. Nobody's in a hurry, right? Down below, police push back an impromptu crowd of onlookers. I can see them pointing and watching with interest the man out on the ledge. Just tell me what's happening, Harold pleads. Did something happen today? I shut my eyes and shake my head, despising myself for doubting my plan now. Nothing's wrong, I answer with an anxiety-stained voice. This is just something I have to do. You've always been so optimistic and cheerful, Harold says slowly as he settles into a more comfortable position. You seem to be in a bad place after the accident, but you really seem to be doing better lately. Did something happen today? I answer with a short nod. It might seem bad now, Jimmy, but I guarantee you it's not as bad as you think. What happened? Gulping down a frog in my throat, I answer my neighbor. I won the lottery. For a moment he remains silent, but then lets out a confused laugh. I shut my eyes and pull my head back in an effort to calm myself. Most fellows feel pretty good about winning the lottery. I've won before, I answer, gritting my teeth. You've won the lottery before? Do you have a system? I know now that he's just keeping me talking, hoping that time will deter me from my decision. Dreading the drop to the pavement below, I humor the man. Nope, I'm just damn lucky. How much did you win? He asks with curiosity. Too much. Much too much. My pale white knuckles tighten their grip on the brickwork. I inch a foot towards the drop. Does this have to do with the air wreck? Harold asks suddenly, seeing my slight motion towards the ledge and offering a blunt guess as to why I might be out here in an attempt to distract me. I say nothing, feeling cold and suppressing a deep shiver. I take that as a yes, the old man sighs. Look, there's nothing you could have done. It's just dumb luck. You know what the doctor called me? I scoff at his comment. He said I was either a demigod or a liar. People don't survive plane crashes like that, Harold. I fell 40,000 feet without a parachute. Other people have survived before, he points out hopefully. Not like this. It's unusual, but it does happen, Jimmy. I wasn't even scratched. I didn't even lose consciousness. I let out a pained sob. Nobody else survived, and I just waltzed away. It was out of your control. You just got lucky. I know, I growl. Harold does not speak, but I break the silence as anxiety pries my tongue loose. When we lost pressure, some of the passengers were yanked clean out of the plane. I saw them. I saw children hit the ground. They bounced. They fucking bounced. This won't solve anything, Harold repeats quietly. Just come back inside and we can talk more. I've been off from the start. Don't be hard on yourself. I ignore his suggestion, grinding my teeth. At this point, I might as well be honest. Did you know I wasn't supposed to be born? I say at last, allowing a short hysterical laugh to edge into my voice. My mom had a gene disorder and was raped. Why? Who rapes a fucking retard? A pigeon shoots by quickly, ignoring the scene out on the ledge. Doctors said everything was wrong with me. They asked my mother abortion or stillbirth. She didn't understand. Her parents wouldn't listen. She died just before I was scheduled to come along. They cut me out of her, and guess what? I was a perfectly healthy baby boy. Everything in the right place. They called me Jimmy. They called me one lucky son of a bitch. Just come inside, Harold repeats, not knowing how to respond to my confession. I don't deserve anything I've got. I shake my head, and I just won the goddamn lottery. Why don't you just give it away? That's what I did the first time, I admit in a crazed laugh. But the prize wasn't meant for them. Their house burnt down with them inside. Don't you get it? There's no way around it. Just come inside. It's all right. I'm an abomination and this life doesn't belong to me. Please just come inside. Don't watch. I say simply before shutting my eyes and leaning out over my base. Gravity tugs gently, sending a sickening lurch through my inner ear. I can't remember hitting the ground. With confusion, my eyes flicker open and observe my unnatural surrounding. Inky shadows intermingle within a shimmering wall of blackness. It hovers around me in every direction and ripples like a theater curtain when a draft drifts through the air. From the unearthly dark, a silhouette appears. It hovers over the threshold until a slight breeze calls it into sight. The pale creature paces forward into my vision. I recognize it from photos and identify it in shocked disbelief. Mother? She's naked, and her lower half stained red from a jagged scar over her abdomen. A leather muzzle wraps her mouth and links to a chain which hangs out into the shadows. "Jimmy!" she says beneath the muzzle, her eyes lighting up as she sees me. She stumbles forward towards me until the chain snaps tight, pulling her sharply back out of reach. I watch in detached horror, not believing my own perceptions. "Jimmy!" she repeats happily, clueless to my fear. From behind her, I make out a shape that holds her chain. The thing steps out from the darkness, a stout, deformed creature. Veins swell from its dull gray skin, and I swear I can see its every heartbeat as the veins bulge and contract with a simple rhythm. Empty eyes adorn its misshapen skull, and scarce long hairs sprout from its bald head. The entire being reminds me of how I would picture a drowned infant might look. This image washes out of my mind when I notice the lower half of the abomination. A massive, throbbing erection extends from its groin, leaking out spoiled yellow mucus. It holds my mother at the end of the chain as one might a feral hound. Never as it walks forward does the small being break eye contact. A light grin draws over its face. "What is that thing?" I ask, backing up nervously. My mother glances back to the creature and then turns to me with a stupid smile. "He's my friend," she says cheerfully. "That's right, Jimmy. I'm her friend." The little demon giggles in a honeyed, charismatic voice and gives my mother a soft pat on the head with its sweaty palms. I stepped off the ledge, I say to myself, my mind reeling. What is this place? How am I alive? "Don't be foolish," the creature smiles, revealing rows of crooked teeth. "You very well know your answers." "Jimmy," my mother squeals, still overcome with excitement. "It was all for you." "Quiet," the short thing commands with a quick yank of the chain. "Who are you?" I ask, shocked at the display and not yet quite understanding. "She already told you. I am her friend," the demon smirks, his warm timbre resonating through his small body in a soothing, bizarrely fatherly voice. No more, no less. "Mom, what is that thing?" A look of puzzlement fills her face as she strains herself in thought. I can see her lick her lips beneath the leather muzzle before she answers. "Not sure. He's very helpful." "What has he been helping you with?" "With you," she smiles at last, still apparently pleased to be talking with me. I stare, unsure what to say. "Aren't you going to thank us?" the demon asks, leaning his minuscule mass forward. "We've given you so much." My mother nods, the chains bobbing as she moves her head. "Don't you feel blessed?" the thing chuckles. "For all the gifts over the years? Remember that bicycle you wanted as a kid? We got it for you in less than a day." Again, my mother nods in agreement, the rattle of her chain the only sound in the air. "That bicycle," I say at last, choosing my words very deliberately, "belonged to my cousin and was given to me after a drunk driver ran him down." "Everything has a price." "The air wreck?" "Paid for your college tuition and won you the lottery. Twice, might I add." "My birth?" "Your mother gave her life so that you could be a healthy little baby," he finishes my statement effortlessly. "She didn't want you to have to suffer a life like hers." "What have you done?" I asked, despair underlining my tone. "I was simply fulfilling my contract," the demon replies. "I live to serve, after all." "Why?" My voice cracks as I look towards my mother. "Why would you make a deal with that thing?" "For you." "I didn't want any of this," I murmur weakly. "That's what makes it a gift," the short thing responds cheerfully. My mother looks sad, clearly not understanding what has upset me so. "It's all for you," she repeats, hoping I get the message. I fall down to the dark mass that makes up the floor and lay my head in my open hands, not wanting to believe my senses. As I lament over my circumstances, I can hear the heavy breathing of the short creature increase with excitement. My eyes avoid looking at the thing, as though I might be able to blot its presence from my mind. Well, it's been a pleasure, the demon says with glee, but our business is done, darling. He shakes my mother's hand politely and calmly hands me the chain. Take good care of her, sport, the creature says with a wink. It leans in close enough for me to smell its rotten stench and pats me on the shoulder before vanishing out into the drifting darkness beyond. My mother looks at me sadly as we sit silently. Beyond the void swirls chaotically, and somewhere within its dark matter, I can hear screaming. I can feel the excruciating pain of tortured souls, trapped. They will never know what they died for, whose miserable lifestyle they perished to maintain. It's all for you.